Hey everyone, this is our project on Escherichia coli, commonly known as E. coli, done by myself, Oakley, and my partner, Emily. Thank you for watching.
Although E. coli is a normal microbe found in the intestinal microbiota of mammals, certain species contain pathogenic properties that can cause a range of diseases. One of these diseases is meningitis, which is an autoimmune disease caused by inflammation of protective membranes surrounding the meninges, which are the brain and spinal cord, and it is usually started by a bacterial infection. E. coli in the intestine becomes opportunistic bacteria and then relocates into the bloodstream and infects it. It moves through the blood-brain barrier and enters the cerebrospinal fluid, causing the infections of the central nervous system. This is an essential step in the development of E. coli meningitis. E. coli meningitis is actually the most common cause of gram-negative neonatal meningitis, with a fatality rate of 15 to 40%, and it causes severe neurological defects in survivors. E. coli grows and survives in the gut and consumes nutrients such as monosaccharides, disaccharides, amino acids, and dicarboxylates. The metabolism of these nutrients requires biosynthesis of glucose phosphate, which can either occur aerobically or anaerobically. E. coli that causes meningitis gathers nutrients from intestinal mucus, which includes a range of simple sugars that are broken down from polysaccharides by gut residents. When those nutrients are moved to the urinary tract, E. coli has a reduction of nutrients and must compete for resources. When sugars are limited, E. coli can switch from glycolytic to gluconeogenic substrates to continue growth. In a research article from Current Opinion in Microbiology, they say that the loss or gain of mobile genetic elements is responsible for the ability of E. coli to cause a broad range of human diseases. The replication is connected to cell growth based on nutrient availability, and it is initiated at the origin of replication, then moving bidirectionally, which results in two replication forks traveling in opposite directions. Most pathogenic E. coli are extracellular and can invade and replicate within epithelial cells and macrophages. It has the ability to grow fast and replicate fast if the nutritional conditions are right. As mentioned before, if sugars are limited, E. coli will switch from glycolytic to gluconeogenic substrates to continue growth and therefore continue to replicate and reproduce, further causing diseases such as meningitis.
As mentioned, Escherichia coli can mutate into several different versions of itself through a series of gene deletions, point mutations, and genetic rearrangements. Each variation of this bacterium can cause different conditions or ailments. These additions, deletions, and other genetic changes can give rise to pathogenic E. coli forms capable of causing diarrhea, dysentery, hemolytic uremic syndrome, urinary tract infections, and bacterial meningitis. E. coli is considered to have a wide range of virulence factors and genetic plasticity. It has been confirmed that there are at least 20 different strains of E. coli, and some of the virulence factors include adhesions, toxins, iron acquisition factors, lipopolysaccharides, polysaccharide capsules, and invasins. An interesting thing to note is that E. coli is responsible for 75 to 95% of uncomplicated UTIs and 40 to 50% of complicated UTIs. This flowchart demonstrates E. coli and how it has its commensal form, which lives in harmony within a human body, and pathogenic mutations that can develop from the E. coli that lives in the intestinal tract to become extraintestinal and go on to become urinary tract infections, bacterial meningitis in the nervous system, septicemia, which is essentially blood poisoning that leads to sepsis, or avian pathogenic E. coli, which is a serious respiratory infection among birds such as ducks, geese, or chickens, and it is transmissible to humans. There's also pathogenic intestinal E. coli, which cause severe cases of diarrhea.